So in this video today we're going to be laying a few pieces of straight track and connecting the droppers and the bus wires. So you can just see on the layout just a plan of where things are basically going to go, but we're only going to use two of the tracks. Obviously we haven't got any points yet. We use that track there and these two, and they run straight through from one end to another, and that's the rest of them taken away, and that's what we've got left. So we just use these four pieces, and then where that piece of paper is going to be the engine shed. So I wanted these to run parallel to the edge of the board, so I'm just going to mark a line so that we can run it straight from one end to another. And then we'll just draw, we'll just fill in the dot to dot, and then when we put the underlay down, we can, we've got a straight edge to work to. So there's the inner track, or the outer, depends on where you're looking at, I guess. Anyway, the one nearer to me, and the other one. I'm just going to lay them just so I've got an idea how many pieces I need. Turns out to be 8. So it goes straight onto that one, and then we're just going to curve around the corner very slightly. The good thing about doing our droppers is that nearly every piece of track is going to be straight, or it's going to be a point, so we haven't got to worry about sleepers moving around when we put the dropper wires in place. I'll show you that in a moment what we're going to do. Just going to quickly lay these out, so it just gives me an idea of, let's say, how many pieces and roughly where they're going to go. So we're going to attach the droppers to the underside of the track, so they go straight through the baseboard and you won't see them at all. Before I've soldered them to the side of the track, sort of furthest away, but there's a possibility that this track will be seen from both sides at some point, so I'm going to avoid that. So just going to cut a bit of the webbing out just to expose some bare pieces of track. Now I find that the solder takes much easier if you sort of rough the surface back to sort of take the nickel coating off. So just going to rub that back really slightly, and then just a little bit of flux. Now I'm not an expert with soldering, as I'm sure you'll see, but it seems to work, so I'm going to stick with it. Need to buy a new soldering iron. I think that's seen better days, but it'll do for today. So we're just going to heat the flux up, and then we just need to leave a little piece of solder on there so that when we offer the wire up in a moment, the dropper wire, they will join quite easily. So here's our dropper wires. Now we're using, these are from DCC Concepts. The actual wire doesn't really make a lot of odds, I guess, where it comes from, but that's where this comes from. And this is a 0.15, so is it a multi-core, I think. 17 grams, if that makes any sense to anybody. But if you go on the DCC Concepts website, there's not many choices of dropper wires, just different colours. So we're going to use black and red, but that's the sort of convention that most people go with, and who am I to disagree? So just to make it a little bit easier, we're going to tin the end of each of the dropper wires, and that's just a small piece of solder across the end. And we'll do the same with the reds. Now, so that they fit in the small space where that we're made in between where we've taken the webbing away from the track. I'm just going to bend it like a small sort of hockey stick shape. And that means that we can, you'll see in a moment, we can offer it in, and it's less obtrusive when we come to put the track down. So offer that into place. Now, because we've got solder on both the parts, it's a very quick join. Now, because this is a straight piece of flexi track, it doesn't matter at the moment I've got black on the front or the back. Obviously if it's a curved piece, you'd need to be mindful of that, because you need to know when the track's going down, what's going to be the front and the back of the track. So convention is that black to the back. I think you may have heard that phrase before, so that's what we're going to do. So all of our rear lines will be using the black wire. Now I'm putting some underlay on this. This is 3mm cork, and I'm just really tacking it into place with some double-sided tape just to make it a little bit easier. Run it along that line so it's nice and straight. It gives me a guide, something to start from. The double-sided tape is not the final fix. When we come to do some scenics and ballasting, we'll change all this with we'll glue it into place as well as the track. So you need to make the space where the droppers are. Now I've marked these out. And a hole for each side. And then with a piece of flexi track that I made to go into this part here, I'm going to pop the droppers through, black to the back so they're furthest away and red to us. Obviously you've got a loop, it will change because as it goes to the other side, obviously the black will then be on the inside, but it's just convention that yeah, we use black to the back of the one that's nearest to us, and then we take it from there. Can join them together using the fish plates. It's really just to hold them in place. It does nothing else. They do give us an electrical connection, but it's not something I want to rely on. Just going to push that up just to make sure it's nice and tight. We'll do the same with the front one as well at the moment. I'm just going to pin these in place with track pins. These are not the final fix, like I say. We're going to glue them eventually, but just to hold them in place just while we do some work. I'll eventually fill those holes. I've only done 3 on each piece of track. And that's them in place. So we've done both the lines, and all the droppers are now poking through to the other side, and you can see them as we lift the board up. So we've got our droppers, so the red ones being the front ones. So I've spent quite a bit of time watching other YouTubers and reading on forums about theories of dropper wires and bus wires and lots of other things to do with the hobby, and there is, I'd say, a difference of opinion on what's correct and what's necessary. At the end of the day, it's just a hobby. There is no definitive way of doing anything. It's really down to whatever suits, in this case, me. So whatever my logic says is probably the way to go. That's what we're going to do. So my logic when it comes to dropper wires, for instance, is that I don't want to rely on a mechanical connection of the fish plates to continue an electrical connection. So instead I've decided to wire each piece individually into the bus wire, so I know that each piece of track gets a good connection. So if there's a failure, it's not going to be the fish plates, because I'm taking them out of the equation. They're just there just to attach the 2 pieces of track together. And the same goes for bus wires, whether it should be in a particular shape, where it should be a straight line or a star or radial, or whether it should be a loop. So on this layout, which is an end-to-end layout, we're going to use 2 pairs of bus wires coming from the controller, which will be here. So 1 pair will go across the front and 1 pair across the bottom, and they won't join at the end, so it won't be a loop. There'll just be 2 sets of wires, and then each track will connect to the nearest bus wire. So it's good practice, I understand, to twist your bus wires together. It increases induction, and I think eliminates or reduces like radio interference. I'm not an expert, that's what I think I've read. These are our terminal tags, again from DCC Concepts, possibly available elsewhere, I don't know, but yeah, they're not expensive, and they're quite a nice solution. So we're just going to need to open up the top of the tag just so we can get our bus wires through there in a minute, and you'll see exactly why that is necessary. But they cut they're quite thin and they cut easily. There's a bus wire in place already twisted. You can buy already pre-twisted bus wire if you're doing lots and lots of track. We're only doing sort of 8 meters, 2 lots of 4, so it was quite inexpensive to just buy plain wire and then twist it ourselves. This is 1.5 mil bus wire. So we need to bare a part of the wire where it's going to hook onto the tag. And then just maintaining our convention, we'll have the black one to the back. It doesn't really make any difference, in fairness, as long as you connect red to red, black to black. Doesn't matter what order they go in underneath the board, but it's just easier if it's done correctly. It's just much more obvious when you're fault finding or adding other bits. So just going to solder those into place just to make sure they have a proper connection with the terminal tag. And there's the red bus wire. I've just talked it through the hole just for a moment. The bottom hole is now connected to the bus wire because it's all part of the same tag. And quick solder them from the back. And that's it, we're done. Quite neat, I think. It's easy for me to see where I'm going, and that's it. Hope that was useful. We'll speak soon.